This episode is brought to you by Neox Marketing. Are you looking to upgrade your business? Do you want to develop your marketing skills but have no idea where to start? Boy, do I have a deal for you. With promo code SmackTalk, you can get not 25, not 50, not 60, 80% off their marketing ebook. That comes to a total of $2. Yeah, this ebook has everything, okay? It took a year to make. It's simple to use, so you can get started ASAP. So Johnny, you're saying you can get an entire ebook, a step-by-step guide for scaling my business for only $2? That's exactly what I'm saying. With promo code SmackTalk, you can use it at checkout or click the link in the description. That is promo code SmackTalk for 80% off your purchase. SMACKTALK. Tell a friend to tell a friend and enjoy the episode. Peace.
One high fly ball, deep right field, backing up Eaton, and that one is out of here.
No side.
He crushed it, and the Red Sox have taken the lead.
Bitch, put some respect on my name. Hey. When you speak on me, you speak on the game.
Hell yeah, we're rolling. Guys, welcome to Smack Talk. Today's guest, he is a certified PT, a former weapons instructor. Yeah, he studied natural science and finance. He is a black belt in karate with over a decade of experience, a massive fitness enthusiast. Fucking look at him. Huge advocate for men's mental health and mental strength. Ladies and gentlemen, Ashkan Agarazi.
How's it going, brother?
Good, you?
Doing great, bro.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Look, guys, today we're going to touch a fucking plethora of subjects, okay? So let's get into it. Men's mental health. Why is that important to you?
Yeah, so I think a lot of us go through like some pretty fucked up shit.
Absolutely. Well, not just men's mental health in general,
mental health
but
in
still,
general. Yeah, a lot of us go through fucked up shit, and I think it's like, it doesn't matter like, you know, what gender you are, but it you know, for me specifically, going through like more traditional male problems. Yeah. I didn't really have, you know, I have a large family and I had a lot of people for me, but sometimes even though you have so many people with you, you still feel alone. Yeah. And if you can't battle your demons on your own, it doesn't matter who's around you, you're always gonna feel that way. That's true. So for me, I went through my first breakup when I think I was 18 at the time, and it was like really bad, like the worst of the absolute worst. Like, you know, like you really feel like your whole world just like crumbles.
The first one hurts, man.
First one hurts, right? But you have to go through it. That's
Absolutely.
the thing. You have to go through it. And for me, it was more like, okay, I was in love with this girl. Of course, at the time, like, you know, it's the first relationship. So, you know, you don't really even know what love is. But you're feeling all these crazy emotions for the first time.
Yep.
And, we were together for, I think, so the funny story is we actually got together, I think I was 17, and we broke up like 5 months after over whatever, and I'm not gonna name this person just because out of respect for them.
Sure.
Yeah, but we broke up like 4 or 5 months after, and it was like such a bad time for me. And everyone I cared about had to watch me suffer, and they were trying so hard to help me, and there was really no one that could help me but myself. And that's something I learned. It's like, you can have as many people as you like around you trying to help you out, but if you're not willing to help yourself, then like, there's no one that's gonna do it for you.
Yeah, you can make correlation between like, you know, fitness and dieting.
100%.
Dude, if you don't do it, no one else is gonna do it for you.
No,
you can have
not.
a fucking 100 people around you every day saying, okay, let's go. Fucking who's gonna carry the boats? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but if you don't
100%.
carry the fucking boats, no one's gonna do it for you.
No one's gonna do it for you.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was like, hey, So the funny story is, I went through literally hell. So back at the time, I was doing martial arts. I stopped doing martial arts. Even the small workouts I would do, like weight training, stopped doing that. I was so anxious that I couldn't really eat properly, so I was dropping weight super fast. And within like a few months, like I just couldn't even recognize myself. And so the funny thing is, I ended up getting back with the girl, right? Okay. And once classic youngster's mistake. Yeah. We ended up getting back, and we ended up spending like about 3.5 years together after that. So a long time. And then again, sort of, you know, another issue happened, whatever. We sort of like broke up very like respectfully and mutually. But the second time around, I remember telling myself, I'm never gonna let myself go back into that hole ever again. And the second time around, every single mistake that I did the first time, I did not do. I kept working out, and it's so funny because you actually learn that like when you're going through this amount of sadness, it's actually like a source of unlimited fuel. And it truly is.
Yeah, a source of enlightenment.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like the amount of shit you can get done when you're going through stuff is like beyond fucking like comprehensible. It's really impressive. You'd be so surprised about how much shit you can get done when you're going through stuff.
You need adversity, man.
You have to.
Yeah.
And it's like the problem here is that, you know, there's sort of two ways that you react to it. You either go through something detrimental and you let yourself drown, or you get out of it and you use that fuel into good shit. You pump it into things that, like, for example, working out.
Yeah.
Or anything else, really. It doesn't have to be working out.
Business, school.
Anything.
Yeah.
It's truly unlimited fuel. And for me, for example, like, you know, I'm a massive fitness enthusiast, so my workouts after my breakup were fucking unreal. They were so good, and it's just like
Fighting demons, bro.
oh yeah, big time. It's a blast. So when you look at it that way, there's like kind of a little bit of positivity that comes with it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like this shit happened to you and it sucks, but what are you gonna do? Are you gonna sit around or feel sorry for yourself, or are you gonna go out there and take all this negativity and turn it into positivity? Because like we said earlier, it's really up to you.
Yeah.
No one's gonna do it for you. And so that's something I had to learn. Like I had such a large support system growing up because I have such a huge family. Like on my dad's side, I have like, you know, 5, 6 like uncles and aunts, and on my mom's side, I have like 8 uncles and aunts. So like there's a lot of cousins. Like we're a large family. And growing up with a massive support system is great, but sometimes it can pull you away from like being self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened to me particularly.
It's important to be a little selfish.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
hard to say. It's hard to, like, you know, put it into words. But honestly, man, you need to be selfish in some situations. It's key, really.
Yeah.
And I find relationship psychology, or relationships in general, very interesting as well, because you learn a lot from yourself, and not only from yourself, you learn from the experiences too. My question to you is, what's the importance of trust in a relationship, and how do you build that?
Yeah. So that's a big thing, right? So like for me, a lack of trust is a one-way trip to massive amounts of anxiety and fear during a
Absolutely,
relationship,
man.
right?
Yeah.
It's the number one thing, and you kind of look back and say like, okay, well, why? It's like, well, the first thing is in order to build trust, if you get into a fresh relationship, there's typically no reason not to trust the person unless they're not information from outside sources. But again, like, let's say like a clean slate, it's usually fine. Usually where I think there's a lack of trust is when you've been through something in a past relationship that you're holding on to. Right?
Trauma, man.
Trauma's it will overlap in like different areas of your life. And like primarily the biggest one is if you had a relationship where, you know, you were heartbroken and this applies to like, you know, anyone. It doesn't have to be just like a boyfriend, you know, experiencing being cheated on by their girlfriend. It could be vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah.
And the point I'm making is that, you know, if you hold on to that, it's messed up, because what will end up happening is something that happened in a previous relationship will affect your new one.
Yeah.
And if you let this sort of tangent go on, every single relationship you'll get in is going to be sort of molded by a rotten apple 5 years ago.
But it's also a clean slate. Like when you're going with someone new, like, yes, you learn from your experiences and you know what not to do and such, but you have to learn to adapt. Everybody loves differently. Everybody, you know, has different, you know, they have different goals in life, or they have different expectations from their partners, and you have to adapt. If you don't adapt and you think every relationship is going to be exactly the same, dude, you're not going to go very far.
100%, 100%. Yeah. No, you're not wrong, and it's like. And I think one of the first steps, I think, is don't be afraid to share your story, right? If you're getting into something new,
brother.
there's nothing wrong with sitting down with your partner and having a conversation as to, okay, I feel this type of way, and this is what happened. And this is why. And it's not to say that you'll do the same thing, but it's just so you and I are on the same page, that if I act in a way that you think is unfair, or if I act in a way that you think is like, well, why is he acting like this? I just want you to know the source of the information. I want you to know the entire truth. So the one thing is like, if you're gonna have trust issues or whatever, my biggest advice is maybe you're not ready to be in a relationship to begin with. But if for whatever reason, you know, you really like this particular person, you're not completely over what happened in your past, don't be afraid to share your story. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable and sharing your experience. And I think that's something that's like sort of like we don't really talk enough about it, but you know, sharing your story is a big one for me, at least.
That's what I had problems with that, you know, expressing my emotions, especially in a relationship. Like, instead of saying like, okay, like I really don't like that, I would just, you know, bottle it up and keep it for another day. But you know, at the end of the day, it did not work out because I just never talked about my emotions. And then when the day came, I totally fucked up, and you know, it's too late. And I feel bad. I really do. I'm talking about my last relationship. You know, we were together for 3 years. We got together during the pandemic, and we moved in together real quick. She was awesome, man, amazing. But there was a lack of, let's say, openness in our relationship, emotional wise. You know, we never talked about it at all. We never fought. It was always positive, but deep down, you know, I would have loved to at least expressed, you know, some emotion or my feelings about our relationship, right? We did it way too quick, in my opinion. And so, yeah, after a couple years, I did the classic, you know, liking other girls' pictures and whatnot, going to the gym, and then, I cheated. That's what it is. And I realize now that, and she blocked me everywhere. Fair. Like, come on. I would do the same thing, okay? Like, I fucked up, man, and I was always like that. And honestly, I feel less of a man doing that. You think you're so macho, like, you know, getting all kinds of girls and stuff, and man, it is the most pussy thing to do. It is the most fucking pussy thing to do. And it's hard for me to say this, but man, I felt like garbage. And man, I am sorry. And I'm never going to have the chance to have closure on that, and she won't either. And I probably ruined her experience in relationships because of that. Because in a relationship, man, it's not all about you. I did just say to be a little selfish, but at the end of the day, buddy, you're going into with two people. And if you're making a long-term relationship, if you're thinking about marriage, kids, you know, you have to put a little bit of selfishness aside, because you're a unit, right?
Right. So
I know, man. Look, in this society, there's a lot of thirst traps. There's a lot of, sources of dopamine, to put it in that sense. And you need to learn to navigate through it. And you have to learn to love the person you are with, even though there is going to be, better looking people out there. That's just life, man. That's what it is. Like, not everybody is fucking a top model, right?
Yeah.
You have to learn to love with what you got, and to learn how to share your emotions, man. And that's what's hard. And men, I know you guys out there are having a hard time sharing your emotions, dude. And look, dude, it's okay to be vulnerable. Yeah. It's okay to be a fucking man too, but it's okay to be vulnerable. And there's a difference between being soft and being straightforward with your emotions.
Right, absolutely.
And in your opinion, man, like, let's say if you were in a relationship with me, okay? Sure. What's the red flags do you look for in a relationship?
Wow, well, there's a few.
Yeah.
And I think, and again, like, just pointing it out there, I think this applies to both parties. I don't think it's particular
Absolutely.
to one.
Yeah.
For me, the first one is talking to your exes. That's a big one, right? And
Absolutely.
it's like, and I say this, and sometimes you mention, like, yeah, like, I don't want you talking to you, and like, there are some things. And let's take men for an example. That is a direct correlation to insecurity. There are other things that's a direct correlation to respect. And I think sometimes there's a gray area between, and it's sort of like people don't know how to differentiate. And the example I use when it comes to talking to your ex is, you want me to come into your life and fill a particular role in that life. And how do you expect me to do that when you're still communicating or holding on to the person who used to fill that role? It's like, how do you make me feel? Like, how do you want me to feel about you talking to someone who had a massive, massive role in your life, and now you expect me to fill that role? You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you have to explain it the right way. If you just say, I don't want you talking to your ex or whatever, and you pull a tantrum and you freak out, it looks insecure.
Absolutely.
However, sometimes it's not so much about what you're asking, but if you translate it the right way and communicate it the right way, and the person goes, oh, okay, he's asking this, but this is why he's asking it. And why he's asking it kind of makes sense. They're a lot more likely to sort of like understand you and actually respect your wishes. So for me, the first one is, definitely like, I think that, and it's again, it comes down to a respect thing. Like, if I'm trying to start something new with you, how am I respecting you? By still holding on to my past relationships. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to how you translate it. If you just simply ask like, yeah, like you shouldn't be talking to your ex because, well, why? Because it's wrong. Well, why? And you'll go into this circle. But you just explain, it's like, hey, I'm trying to fill a role in your life. How do you expect me to fill that role if you're still holding on to the old person who used to fill that role?
Yeah.
And if you translate it the right way, I think for the most part, it should be understood. I don't think it's a crazy one.
No, it's not a crazy one at all. But do you think it's like a certain like level of maturity too?
Absolutely. Like
You don't see this in like older women, man. Honestly.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's a level of maturity. And I think this whole like, I mean, geez, like there's this whole thing about like, you know, and we kind of chatted about this earlier, where like we try to like demonize like masculinity. And of course it's like, you know, I think for the most part, like there are certain things that like, sure, like we can have a conversation about certain like, you know, like in regards to masculinity, maybe certain things need to be adjusted or changed or whatever for like to sort of accommodate today's time. But the point I'm making here is a lot of times like you're being jealous, you're being this, you're being that. When it's like, if you have that level of maturity, you actually realize that it's a lot, like it's more than just like what you just said.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right. You typically don't see this. Like this is very common to like sort of, you know, you have a relationship with someone, you move on to sort of just cut ties with that old person, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But again, it comes to maturity because, you know, if we look at a younger age demographic, they might not see it that way because they're just so used to like either being nice with everyone or friends with everyone. Life is a party. Life is like, you're supposed to have fun, which is true. But at what point does your fun come in the way of your relationship? And one of them needs to be sacrificed. Do you want to have fun and do whatever you want? Sure. But all the good guys, and this is the truth, all the good guys, they're not going to wait around for you to have all your fun. And then once you're ready, come back. There's no one waiting for you.
Absolutely.
And you kind of have to make a choice. And there's nothing wrong with the choice that you make. You know what I mean? There's
It's
nothing
your
wrong.
life,
It's
man.
your life. If you want to have fun and do whatever you want, then by all means, like, but you have to sort of accept that like it's a sacrifice. And if you're okay with that sacrifice, then by all means. And I'm sure that, you know, and I'm not saying that you'll never find love, but what I'm saying is if you have this ideal guy also has an ideal woman. So if you want to have the ideal guy, put yourself in a position where you're viewed as the ideal woman as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's sort of like, you know, that's sort of like the way I see it. And again, going back to it, there's Jesus.
Whoa.
Sorry.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
No worries, man.
We should hold on. Let's turn this phone off. I was so deep into it. Now. We got ruined.
We're experiencing some technical
Yeah.
difficulties, ladies and
Sorry,
gentlemen.
guys.
No worries.
So yeah, the point I'm making with all that is like, you know, if you're unable to sort of like see the pros and cons and recognize that one of these things needs a sacrifice, well then you'll just end up being very disappointed later on in life. And again, the reason why we don't see it, and I think perhaps we could be wrong, but let's say in general we don't see it in like a older age demographic for women, it's because they recognize they probably made those mistakes in their early age, and now they realize that the sacrifice is not, you know.
Yeah, because the men they're looking for are not going to fucking put up for them going out every weekend, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It's not going to happen. And if you miss the ride, if you miss your chance, that's it. Like there's no like you're not. You know, you have to be pretty fucking special for him to. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
there's less chances.
Right.
If you're
100%.
young and you know you're out there and you're good looking and stuff, the world is yours, man. But when you're at a certain age, well, you're replaceable. You know, that's what it is. You got to both ways, men and women. You have to fucking realize that at a certain point in life, you are replaceable. So when you find somebody that checks out all the boxes, you know, maybe the little red flags or the little things that you would have, you know, let go or let fly in past relationships, maybe you learn to grow and you learn to live with it a little bit. You know what I mean? What's your opinion on marriage?
I'm all for it, honestly. I love the idea of two people settling down together, spending the rest of their lives together. Of course, like I'm more like, you know, I'm
Middle Eastern?
I'm Middle Eastern, so you know, does
it mean more to you? Do you think? Because Western society, you know, marriage, we have the divorce rate is fucking through the roof, and it's 80% women. But we're not going to talk about that because you know every situation is different, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But to me, man, like I think they're viewing like marriage as an Instagram post more than a reality.
Yeah, like what it means now probably doesn't it's not what it used to mean.
No, of course not.
But you know, if you look at more traditional like Middle Eastern households, we still it still means what it means to us.
Yeah.
But of course, like for me, it's like like the idea of getting married, having kids, like it's very important to me, right? And I like to tie this down a lot to like my parents, particularly with my dad. I'm really close to my dad. He's like my absolute hero. He means the world to me, and he was the best dad you can ask for. Like if you, in my mind, like if I pictured the ideal dad, it's my dad.
Wow.
And I think all sons probably think about
Absolutely.
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
my dad too, man. Hey, they handle the situation that they are given. Some fuck up, but some men, you know, it doesn't matter if you're rich. It doesn't matter if you're fucking, you know, what culture you are or whatever, man. Look, as long as you're a good father figure, a good man in somebody's life, like, dude, you can change their lives completely.
100%. And so, my point with this particularly is that my dad was such an amazing dad to me that it would be wrong for me to not be an amazing dad to my son. Like,
wow.
I want to keep this going. I want to keep it going. Like, you know, it would be almost like in my mind, it would almost be unfair for me to have such a great dad and not be a great dad to my son. So that's one thing. Of course, like I also have an amazing mother who I love so much, but you know, me being a guy, like you pick up more from your dad because what your dad does, you kind of want to be that way with your son.
Absolutely.
So for me, yeah, for sure. And I'll point out to this. A lot of people will say like, I don't want to get married. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with like what you think, but and I heard this somewhere. I can't remember where I heard it, but I remember someone had a similar question about marriage or I think like something like that. And the answer they gave was like, you may not think about it when you're in your 20s, but life gets pretty fucking lonely at 45. And everyone's going to have their own lives, and your friends are going to have their own lives, and your siblings are going to have their own lives, and maybe your parents aren't going to be around. And eventually, everyone who is with you right now, the people who are with you right now, who make you think that you don't need marriage or you don't need a significant other because you have them, will have their own lives eventually. And then you'll have no one. And life gets lonely after 45, you know what I mean? And for some people, like, that's fine. Like, again, like, it's not like a general rule of thumb. But if we speak generally, we can understand that your opinion as a 20-year-old will differ than as a 25-year-old.
Dude, as a 22-year-old.
As a 22-year-old, every year your opinion changes.
Yeah.
So for you as a, let's say, 25-year-old, making the decision of like, oh, I don't want to get married ever, how do you think your 45-year-old self will think about that? And that's the biggest way to look at it. Do you still think that, if you're still thinking at 45 what you think at 25, there's a problem.
Yeah. Seriously, you have to develop. And like, man, at 25... You know, you can say, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids or whatever. But man, to me, there's nothing more. I was the same way. At like 20 years old, 21, 22. I was like, dude, fuck this shit. I don't want a kid. Like, you know, it's so much responsibility. And like, my mind wasn't there. But now, like, I don't want anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And isn't it interesting, the shift in culture? Like now,
absolutely.
It's if you look at now, everyone's all the young lads are all saying the same thing. It's like you see these like memes or these videos of like what you think men want, and it's just like partying and sleeping around with loads of women versus what actually men want, and it's like the wife, the family, you know, the big house. You know what I mean? It's
Don't get me wrong, we want to fuck. Of course we do. Like,
sure, for the most part, yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm sure there are a lot of people like that. That's what they want.
But we're not just fucking animals, dude. Like, yeah, at a certain point, yes, we have we have something called testosterone, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, yeah. And yes, sometimes it can get overwhelming. But dude, like at the end of the day, like you just want to be a good, providing fucking man for this society.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I'm really impressed with the shift in culture.
Yeah. Thank
because
God.
like 100%. Because like if you look back in let's say the early 2000s or whatever, like you know like movies like American Pie, what did it promote?
Yeah.
Getting laid.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all it was about.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing a large shift where it's like it's not all about getting laid, it's about something more than that.
Sorry. Take a sip. Let's not get canceled today.
I was getting so deep, and then you said that, and now. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
what are the effects of social media you think on relationships?
Well, I think it's like, I think it's definitely a huge challenge to navigate. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, it's jealousy.
Well, that's one thing, but like if you
how do you deal with jealousy?
Well, jealousy is jealousy typically is a direct correlation with insecurity.
Yep.
So my approach is like if okay, let's say your girlfriend is talking to someone at the bar. If this guy, and again, no judgment here, but we're just creating a scenario. This guy's let's say, not the best looking dude and like maybe a little bit overweight, like, you won't care.
Oh.
You truly won't care. Why? Because you're not insecure in regards to this person. However, if a gentleman like Johnny goes up to your girlfriend and get insecure. So I think the question is, well, this is actually an amazing opportunity. You're insecure because this gentleman has something you don't. So work on it. Maybe he's bigger than you. Maybe he's whatever. Maybe he has more money than you. Like, it could be anything. But whatever it is, these are opportunities you can sort of look at and say, okay, I'm insecure because this person who, whatever, has something I don't. How do I get it? And it's all about perspective, because you can sit there and just be insecure and bitch about it and cry about it. Or you can say, hey, this guy has something I don't. I want to have that. And if you approach every single moment of jealousy with that sort of like mindset, within a year or two, you're going to tick every box that you didn't have. And then there's no reason to be jealous anymore.
Exactly. And then your girl or your partner, whatever, then they realize like, okay, I don't want anybody else.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is that now that's like the one way of looking like internally. Your girlfriend may not even give a shit. It's like that's the other thing.
The
like,
thing is, probably like 65% of the time, she's just, yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's very like, but like the point I'm making is, it's very internal. It's in your own mind, right? I'm saying like use this sort of formula of jealousy equals insecurity. Why? And then under the why column, figure out how to get that for like your benefit. I'm not even saying it so that like it should have nothing to do with your girlfriend. It should have everything to do with you, right?
But you can also look at jealousy in terms of like, I don't know, like fitness. You can be
100%.
jealous of someone's shape, like, dude, what the fuck, man? But you have no idea the hard work they put behind it. It's the same thing, man.
Absolutely.
Talking to women, business, school, whatever. Dude, not everybody is, never study and gets fucking 99%, right? You know what I mean? Like, you got to work for what you want, man. And that's in every aspect in life. Shit ain't easy, man.
100%.
Shit ain't easy.
If anything, it should be a wake-up call for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It should be a wake-up call to be like, okay, and I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound harsh, like, truly, it's player versus player in the world of men. It's player versus player.
Yeah.
And it's
the animal kingdom, man. That's what it is.
It's what it is. And it's like, I strongly believe it is up to you to be at the top, right? It's like if you're not, and again, like I'm not passing on judgment. If it's not something you're into, then by all means enjoy your life.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is, if there are areas in your life where you can be better and you're choosing not to, you can't be upset if the next guy is, and for whatever reason has a conversation with your girlfriend, then all of a sudden you're upset about it.
That's what I'm saying.
If you have it within you, now I'll put out some stuff. There are some things you can't control. One of the number one things that I think girls are really into is your height, right? It's a huge thing, right? There are some things you just can't control. You can't get taller, right?
Poor fucking short kings out there, bro.
Hey, I'm one of them, man. I'm not that tall. But the point I'm making is you can't control it.
No, you can't.
You can't.
Nope.
But there's so many other things that you can control, and I promise if you can nail down those other things, your height won't matter.
Like your fucking weight, okay? I can talk. No, I can talk about it because I was fucking huge. All right, I can talk about it too, man. Look, brother. You have to realize, you can say, oh, my pituitary gland is... No, dude, you're a fucking fat ass, all right? And I am the prime example, number one. Look, dude, I was eating like shit. After football, I stopped working out. I didn't give a fuck about anybody, doing drugs, drinking all the time. You have to realize at a certain point, like we were going back in the same fucking circle, but you have to do it for yourself. It comes back to self-care. It comes back to self-love. You have to realize, okay... Do I like myself? Do I like what I'm seeing in the mirror? No? Okay, who can change it?
You can, yeah.
And it's hard. Holy fuck was it hard, man. It was so hard going from, eating whatever I wanted to not working out at all, then to doing like, you know what? I'm going to wake up this morning and I'm going to do 30 minutes of fasted cardio and then I'm going to go to the gym. Dude, first week was brutal.
If you don't mind sharing, what's the heaviest you've ever been?
I was 297.
And what are you weighing at now?
I'm 220.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Well, I fluctuated in weight a lot. I started doing strongman after, like when I first got in the gym, like, hey, I'm big, so I might as well use the frame,
Yeah.
So I tried strongman. Strongman was cool, very fun. Everything was shot. My back was shot. Knees were done. Then I tried powerlifting, same concept. But I was walking around constantly in pain. So if you're not competing, there's no point.
Yeah.
Like I was, like throwing 600 pounds, like I like deadlifts like all over the place and shit. But at the end of the day, man, it's not worth the back pain, and you got to think about your future.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yeah.
So, you know, cardio. Look, I used to be the biggest hater of cardio. Like, dude, you don't need to fucking do cardio. Just lift weights a bunch of times. You know what I mean? Cardio's key, man. You need that cardiovascular health.
Big time.
And I'm telling you, it makes a difference. If you're in the bed with your lady or your partner, whatever, and you can't last fucking 5 minutes without, you know, hyperventilating,
Yeah, I know.
it turns her off.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I
big time.
mean? And, you know, cardiovascular health, blood flow, your dick. You know what I mean? At a certain age, you might lose the power, okay? Don't let it be now.
Yeah.
Enjoy your
100%.
20s.
100%.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. That's a big point. And it's like some people think enjoying their 20s is doing whatever they want. It's like
Bunch of roids and shit.
yeah, it's just like I mean, I don't know. Honestly, again, like if some people,
Do you.
that's do you, man. Whatever makes you happy. Absolutely no judgment. But you know, again, like if we talk about what we mentioned earlier, it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard, but like Joe Aesthetic died a few
That's
days
exactly
ago.
what I was going to say. Yeah.
That was like the biggest bummer for like the fitness YouTube community.
But he's not the only one.
I know there's a lot more.
A lot of young kids, man.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who do it. We just don't know about it because they're not in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So it's like
Everybody wants the easy way out.
Yeah.
Steroids is the easy way out. But no, don't get me wrong. Okay, you need to work hard too.
100%.
It's not like you don't just inject yourself and the
No.
next day you're fucking Jay Cutler.
Yeah,
No,
100%.
dude.
You gotta put in the work for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's like the biggest thing. It's like I knew this one guy. He was, and I use this as an example. I think it's pretty solid. This one guy I knew was taking steroids. I think he was not even like 17 or something. Super young.
Must be having a hard time now.
Oh,
Or a
I
soft
don't know.
time.
Actually, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. But I gave this, and I saw him at the gym once, and I told him this is an example. There's a surgery you can do. I think it's becoming more and more popular now that actually grows your height, and it's like a surgery done and like.
Holy fuck, I saw that.
Where is it? I think it's somewhere in like beneath the knees or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird surgery you can do to increase your height. Taking steroids at 17 is the equivalent of taking that surgery before you're done growing your natural height.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're 17, bud. You have not achieved the full potential of your body right now. Like your testosterone levels are not high at
And they
17.
have no idea.
None.
I'm at 25 now. If I had to look back at like 20-year-old me, like, dude, you have no idea what's
Yeah,
coming up. Like,
100%.
you're gonna be fucking jacked. Like,
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Even me, like I look at my photos, I've been working out for probably, I think I would say like consistently like 7 years, like
Yeah.
since 2017. That was like when I really started going. And I noticed like, holy shit, like you don't really notice how much progress you've made until you go back to those photos and you're going like, holy cow. And I realized that, you know, when I was 18, 19, like sure, like, you know, you have some testosterone, you have a lot of energy, but it's not even near what you're going to accomplish when you're like in your mid 20s, bro. It's fucked up.
And we, like, honestly, man, you're gonna peak until you're probably like 27, 28.
Yeah, we'll keep going up.
You know?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
These poor kids, man, doing fucking roids at like 17, 16. They're not. Okay, it's like birth control for women. Same concept. If you take the younger you take it, it's going to push back your stages of puberty.
Okay.
Okay, that's what happens
Okay.
to women. So then, let's say they're off Plan B at like, I don't know, 26, 27, whatever.
Yeah.
They get the results of offset puberty at 27, 28. Okay. So like acne.
Jeez, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
So it's the same concept for a man. Your testosterone is not fully developed at that young age. There's barely nothing, man. Of course, you're not fucking huge, okay? But wait, just
Sweat
wait.
it out, guys. Sweat it out.
Your body and your family might fucking thank you. You know what I mean?
100%.
For these fucking poor fitness influencers, man, they're just out there trying to give the good word, you know, just literally just, okay, like have fun, smile, enjoy, fucking go work out, be healthy. And they, you know.
And the other thing is like, you'd be surprised how much you can accomplish as like a natural. Like you can do really
Absolutely.
well. Like the only thing is that not the standard, but I would say like the goal is so high right now because this whole fitness community and YouTube and stuff like that, like let's be honest, for the most part, they're all taking something. So like what youngsters are all consuming is this like perfect physique, and the goal, that sort of like standard is set so high, you can only achieve it with steroids. So they might see that, start working out for a few years, not see the results they want to see, and then they'll immediately jump to like that sort of like, okay, well, if this is not working, this is what I'm going to do next, right? But it's like, first off, if you're working out and you're 17, 18, you have a lot left. Like you have a lot of time left. Like if you don't see the results, like when I started working out, I swear from 18 to 19, I saw some results and I was like, man, this is going great. And then from like 19 to 20, I saw more. From 20 to 23, I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting like, it's like muscle maturity. Like the ways my muscles growing
like
is just
that.
like, it's literally called muscle maturity. You know what I mean? And then now I look back at my old photos and I'm like, wow, like now I see the progress.
Did you notice you get more vascular too?
100%, 100%. Yeah. It's there's so much you can accomplish as a natural, and you know, but again, the problem is that like what they're consuming is not natural physique. What they're consuming is, you know,
and it's the same thing for women. Same thing. Dude, do you think this girl is not like, you know, like sucking in her stomach right now, or do you think she's natural right now? No, she's not. And social media is just putting it out there for everybody to see. Like, oh, look at me, this is the best shape I ever did. You know how many fucking pictures you took before that?
Yeah.
You know how many angles you did?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, come on, man. You have to be, you know, like, it all comes back to self-love, self-care. Yes, okay, body positivity, okay, sure, at a certain point, okay? There's body positivity and being completely fucking unhealthy.
Yeah.
You have to make the difference between the both, okay? Because now I'm seeing body positivity shit and it's out of this world.
Yeah,
okay, like, come on, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? But one, if you want to be positive about yourself, get healthy. The positivity will come.
100%.
When you look at yourself in the mirror, you can say, okay, look, I love myself at 300 pounds. Okay, I was saying the same thing. You don't. You don't. Okay? Your knees will thank you. Your lower back will thank you. Your heart will thank you. Your organs will thank you.
Yeah.
Okay? It's, look, body positivity is yes. Body positivity is good if you're a burn victim. If you're an amputee, if you have something deformed in your face or something is wrong with you, I am all for it.
Yeah, 100%.
But if you are 300 pounds and you're talking about body positivity, please, I'm asking you, I am begging you, please get in shape first. And then if you still have mental problems, okay, then go see someone or talk to someone. But I'm telling you, it will go away after you get healthy.
100%. Yeah. And like some people ask me, like, when you work out, don't ever look at like your physique as the immediate results. Wonder how you felt that day. You know, like look at, there are a lot of like sort of like smaller but quicker achievable goals that accumulate, and that consistency will like lead up to that physique that you want. But like, don't look at like, okay, I've been working out for a few months. How big are my arms? How lean do I look? No, forget about all that. You've been working out for a few months. How much sleep did you get? How much better is your sleep? Like how much anxiety do you have now? Do you have less anxiety? Do you feel better? Do you feel more mobile? Do you have more energy? Those are the reasons you should work out, because those are like goals that you'll see a lot quicker, and those should be enough for you to go back the next day. Absolutely. If you feel better and you get better sleep and you feel just better, you're gonna want to go again and again and again. And before you know it, a year's gonna go by and you're gonna look at a photo of yourself a year ago and be like, wow.
Don't do it for you. Do it for 50-year-old you.
100%.
Do it for 80-year-old you.
Absolutely.
Because we're seeing less and less 80-year-olds. And guess what? Have you ever seen a fat 70-year-old? No.
Yeah.
Because they don't fucking exist anymore.
No, and it's true. It's like, and I'll be honest, and it sort of ties back to like what we were discussing earlier. Like, I was working out, and then I remember telling myself, probably when I was 21 or something, like, I'm like, I wonder, because I know a lot of people who used to work out with me at 21, and now they just completely off. They're not working out anymore. Like, now whether that means they lost all their muscle, gain a bunch of weight, like they don't do it anymore. And I remember saying like, I wonder at what age I'm gonna stop working out. I wonder when is it gonna be like my time where like right now I want to work out every single day, but I wonder when I'm just not gonna care anymore. And that day hasn't happened yet. I'm 25 years old now. I still work out every day, but now I'm glad I didn't, because now I'm like, hey, whether I want to or not, I owe it to my 50-year-old self to be in shape. And
it's a part of you, man.
It's a part of you. And I had seen this thing, I think like a week ago or something. And now again, I don't know the science behind it particularly, but I thought it was pretty interesting. It was like this gentleman saying that if you don't work out, you are not as healthy as a guy who works out and smokes. So I know that there's like a lot of science behind working out. One of the biggest ones is that exercise helps like create newer cells. Like your cell regeneration, the rate at which it regenerates is a lot higher when you exercise.
So a smoker who works out versus a smoker who does not, the smoker who works out is healthier.
No. I'm saying if you smoke and work out, you are healthier than a guy who just doesn't even smoke but doesn't work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like exercise is the input of exercise is so high that it will actually, like, if you're smoking regularly but you still work out an hour a day, you are technically more healthy than a gentleman who doesn't work out and doesn't smoke. So you got to look at it that way, and you got to ask
So
yourself
if you don't
why.
work out, you smoke, you eat like shit, you're basically just signing up for your own deathbed.
I mean, we see it all the time.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. Like it's like I had done this research not too long ago, and it's like I think something like 85% of chronic diseases is due to like obesity, like a stupid number, like a ridiculously high number. And if you look at like diabetes, for example, there's type 1 and type 2. I can't remember which one. I think type 1
You're
is
born with, and type 2 you develop.
Exactly, exactly. And like 90% of it is type 2. So think of it. Like, so the first one is truly like it's your body becomes what's called insulin resistant. Because your pancreas is just constantly creating insulin. So
sugar, right? Is all this from
exactly.
all the sugar?
But that's the first one where it's like you're born with it. It's your pancreas that's overdoing the insulin levels, and then your cells become insulin resistant. So now, like, it doesn't know how to regulate the insulin, so it just pumps so much of it, and that's how you get type 1 diabetes. Whereas type 2 diabetes is really like you consumed so much sugar, which contains insulin, and then your cells become insulin resistant. And 90% of diabetes is type 2, which means 90% of diabetes is self-induced. So you got to kind of look at it that way.
There's an old saying like, don't eat too much sugar. What was it again? What was it? Don't eat too much sugar. You'll fuck. I don't remember. Jesus Christ. Whatever.
We'll Google it after.
Yeah, we'll Google it after.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, look, it all comes back to self-love. But how do you deal with self-love and self-care in a relationship?
Oh, wow. I think for the most part, self-love and self-care.
I think you should take care of it before getting into a relationship.
Yeah, like that's the first thing. It's like you can't, and again, I heard this somewhere. It's really good advice. It's like you shouldn't be completing someone, and someone shouldn't be completing you. You should be a whole walking into a relationship, and they should be a whole walking into a relationship.
And together, you guys are unstoppable.
That's what it is.
That's what it is, man.
It's not two halves put in together. It's two whole pieces put in together, making a larger piece. You know what I mean? So for me, like if you think about self-love and self-care, it's like a lot of it comes down to what you're doing prior to the relationship. It shouldn't even be something that you're doing during the relationship. Like, how much do you take care of yourself? How much do you take care of the people that you love? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do that is a direct factor of sustainability in your own life, right? So like sustainability is key when we think about self-love and self-care. Is like, what are you doing to sort of keep your mind sharp, keep your body sharp for the longest time possible? And these are things you should be doing whether you're in a relationship or not. So for me, like, for example, a big one is fitness. It's working out. Like that's how I do my self-care, Other than that, like I love to meditate. And I think a big one, and we might chat about it a little later, is the art of gratitude, like gratitude meditation. It's like you'd be so surprised about how much shit goes on in your life that you're not even like realizing, but you're grateful for. And it's like whenever you're feeling down, my best advice, and someone really dear to me told me this, is like take some time for yourself, take 30 minutes and just think about everything you're grateful for. And I'll tell you the number one thing is, are you still getting phone calls from your parents? Because if you are, you're a very lucky individual. And anything that's upsetting you, anything that's like sort of like bothering you at that time shouldn't mean anything, because you still get phone calls from your parents, and that's very important, right? So if we take it back to like self-care, well, it's like take some time for yourself, meditate, do things that sort of like, it's like positive energy for your mind, When you remind yourself about everyone who loves you and everyone who cares about you, that's a lot of positive energy that you're giving yourself. That's gonna make you feel better. And I have an interesting story to share because I think it's a pretty important one. And this is, again, relating to my dad. So, and I'm saying this because it ties down to like this sort of like gratitude meditation thing where you're like, and we spoke about like, thinking about your parents, and it's a big one. I was going to the gym with a friend of mine. I think this was maybe when I was 21. And this particular friend of mine lost his dad when he was, I think, like 14 or 15. Right? And it's like, that's like really hard on someone. Like, I couldn't even imagine what that
I know, me too. One of my good friends, same thing happened.
Yeah,
like, it's a lot, man.
It's a lot. And I remember, and this was such a massive wake-up call for me. I remember my dad always texts me anytime I go somewhere. He's like, where are you? If I didn't tell him like I left the house and I'm not home, he's like, where'd you go? Where are you? No. Which is like kind of normal if you go out like late night, whatever. He wants to know where you are, it's fine. But this was like 2 p.m. on like a summer day, Saturday. I'm just like, and it was just like, I remember that particular week, it was just like every day my dad was like, where'd you go? Where are you? Where, if I'm not home? And we're walking out of the gym, and I'm with my buddy. And he goes, and my dad texted me saying, hey, he's like, hey son, where you at? Like, where are you? And I remember being like so annoyed, being like, oh my God, my dad just, every time I leave the house, he's always messaging me, where are you? And you know what my friend said? He said, I wish my dad still messaged me where I am.
Damn.
Can you believe that? Here I am bitching about my dad is always messaging to my friend who lost his dad when he was 14. And that was the biggest wake-up call for me, being like, fuck, I'm so grateful my dad is still here. Because there's going to be a time where no matter how badly
You're gonna wish you got that text.
100%. No matter how badly you want your dad to text you, he won't. You know what I mean? Or your mom or whoever that like means to you. And that particular moment in my life, I will hold on to forever. Like it was such a massive wake-up call. And from that came like this whole like idea of like sort of like gratitude meditation. There are some things they're overlooked. You're so used to having your parents around all day that you just kind of overlook the idea that they won't be around, you know?
But it's also important to have that mental toughness too, that mental fortitude. Like your friend must have been, fucking a hard ride, man.
Yeah.
How do you develop mental toughness?
Well, I think like the number one thing is like right now we live in a world where like we're consuming so much shit. It's so easy to have access to information right now. Like if you pull out your phone, there are podcasts, there are videos, like
Everything, man. You can learn to do anything. You can do anything.
You can do anything.
You technically, like in some situations, don't need school.
Oh, for sure. Like
You know?
you can definitely learn a lot.
I'm not saying that for a fucking surgeon, but
No, but like, but for sure. Like, and the point I'm making with this is like, this is like such a great tool, but it's also like very detrimental. Like, if you're gonna consume something so easily, why not watch a podcast with like David Goggins, for example, or like why not watch like there are so like for me like how do you develop mental toughness? Like first you need to like understand what it is and how people who have been at the like absolute bottom and now at the top, you need to hear their journey. Yeah. That's the first step for me. Like the best advice I give people is like, if you're going through some stuff, why don't you listen to a podcast of someone who also went through some stuff and figured out how they got out of it? And like you sort of like pick up on tips and tricks on how to like build it. It's not something that you can sort of just be like, you need to be tougher, because that's just like, there's no like real solution there. Yeah. It's like, just, you gotta be tougher.
I'm feeling depressed. Okay, don't think about it.
Don't think about it. No, that doesn't work, right? Whereas if you say like, hey, like there are sources out there, there are people out there who've gone through shit that you've gone through and they made it, they got out of it. Maybe you can hear their story. So like for me, like David Goggins is like number one. Like everything he said. There's another gentleman, he's a Navy SEAL. I don't know, I think his name is like
Jocko Willink.
Is that that's the guy. Yeah. So he did a couple of like really awesome podcasts.
He's
and
the
like,
best, man.
He's awesome, dude. Yeah. He's so good. And it's like anyone who goes like, I'm like, but do you know, like, and you can ask them like if someone's going through like something where like they feel as if though like, and like mental toughness for me, it's not like, it doesn't mean like, be like like stone cold inside. That's not what it means to me. Like mental toughness means like, yeah, like you're feeling certain situation, right? You're feeling bad about a situation right now. How do you react to it? That's what it comes down to. Like, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be sad. There's nothing wrong with it. But what are you doing in your sadness? Are you staying around at home doing nothing, or are you gonna pump that energy at the gym?
It's the so what factor.
100%.
Okay, fucking, you late on your bills. Girlfriend broke up with you, lost your job.
Yeah.
So what?
So what? And I'm gonna say something, and this is again like, someone very, very close to me gave me this advice, and it was probably some of the best advice I've gotten. And he said, sometimes you gotta turn your fuck yous into fuck it's. Just like anytime something, just say, fuck it. Just you gotta let it out, man. Just say it. Just turn your fuck yous into fuck it's. And it comes down to like this whole thing of like perspective, right? There are some things that like, yeah, it sucks that this happened to you. It's terrible. Like, but you just sometimes gotta say, fuck it.
Yeah, and it builds self-confidence too.
100%.
How do you build self-confidence? How do you overcome self-doubt and build self-confidence?
Well, I think the best way for like, at least like this is how I do it.
Yeah.
Is anytime I'm feeling a moment of self-doubt, I don't let it accumulate. So if there's ever a moment where I'm like, oh, I can't do this, my immediate next thought is, no, yes, I can. And it's like, and you have to do it right away, because if you let these like moments of self-doubt accumulate, it gets harder to like get out of it. If your thought is, oh, I don't think I can do this, and then you don't think about anything else, and then you get closer to like, and then you're like, oh, I don't think I can do it. If you say that too many times, then when you do say, no, I can't, it's not gonna have that same effect. You really need to be like, the second you think, I can't do this, you have to think right away, Because when you think I can't do this, that's not your conscious talking. That's your subconscious, right? It's like within you, you're just like, I don't think I can. Your conscious needs to kick in and say, yes, you can.
And if you're subconsciously saying you can't do it, like your body or your brain is going to say like, hey, I can't. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to try.
Exactly.
Physically, you're unable to do it.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like, and again, like we sort of chatted earlier about this, where I told you, like, you know, the example of the presentation, where it's like, if you've done everything you can to prepare for a presentation in front of 50 people and you're still nervous, that's your subconscious talking, saying like, you need to be nervous right now. Like you need to be panicking. And it's like, but I've done everything I could to prepare. It's like, yeah, but you've taught your mind to be nervous when you speak to 50 people. So that's what we're going to be right now. We're
Exactly.
going to
And
be
watch
nervous.
the guy fucking freestyle his presentation and, you know, not a stress in the world.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, you have to, so for me, like definitely like self-doubt is like an immediate, like the immediate response to self-doubt is self-love. And immediately, as soon as you think I can't do something, remind yourself that you can. Even if you don't think so, still say it.
But you need that self-reflection too.
100%.
It has to be there. If you don't ask yourself the questions, like you're not going to fucking develop this by yourself there. You need to reflect on how you manage the situation or how you would have managed that situation and actually fucking do it. You know, that's the power of positive thinking, you know? And it's the power of self-reflection, self-confidence. And I love this quote too. Confidence is not shouting affirmations in the mirror. It's having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are.
100%.
That's what it is, man.
100%. And it's like, for me, like confidence is like, and I think we chatted about this, perhaps we chatted about this earlier, but like a lot of people, like let's say, okay, let's just take the gentleman, for example. You have no fucking idea how much of yourself you're going to unlock when you start working out. You have no idea how much of yourself you're going to unlock, man. There's so much potential in you. Because the number one thing, like people don't see your thoughts, they see you. So how you present yourself matters in any circumstances.
Absolutely.
And you know this. So if you walk into a room and you don't feel presentable, even if you look presentable, if you don't feel presentable, then your mind's going to start kicking of like, oh, your anxiety's going to kick in. You know what I mean? You're going to be like kind of nervous of like, I don't feel okay right now. So you have to understand that when you fix that, like, and I'm not saying you need to look like a Greek god, but I'm saying like, if we take an example of a gentleman who's perhaps overweight and he drops 70 pounds, let's say even with the 70 pounds he dropped, let's say he's still kind of overweight. He will internally feel more confident no matter what, because he knows undoubtedly that this was something that I wanted to accomplish, and I did.
Yeah.
And even though like you may not like still look like the way you want to, but your level of confidence will immediately rise. And you're not even like that. You're not even done yet. You still have
Same
so
thing
much
with
work to
business,
do.
man. If you're looking for a business partner and then let's say two guys walk in, okay? One guy's absolutely jacked, well-dressed. The other guy is, you know, like you said, a little bit overweight, whatever. But let's say he didn't lose that 70 pounds. Let's say he's still overweight and, you know, he's sloppy. You know, his tie is all over the place or whatever.
Yeah.
Who are you going to do business with? You know, it is like people say like, oh, it doesn't matter. It does matter at the end of the day, man. If you're not presentable, how are you supposed to, you know, be confident? Like, I don't know. It comes with same thing with posture.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, there are some gentlemen out there who like, yeah, maybe they have that level of confidence.
Yeah,
and
but
they're
they
not
have to be, you know, they have to be flawless in their communication.
It's the thing. It's like, I think confidence is accomplished by accomplishments. So it's like you gain your confidence based off like overcoming challenges.
Absolutely.
So maybe that gentleman didn't have a challenge with like weight loss or whatever, but perhaps it was financial troubles, and now he's a multimillionaire. That is a level of confidence.
Because he has a stack of undeniable proof.
Yeah, exactly. It's right there. And when you sort of like present yourself in the way you want to be presented, your confidence will kick in. And what I mean by like present yourself in the way you want to be presented is like, everyone has a sort of like vision of who they want to be. And the closer you get to that vision, the more confident you're going to be because you see the progress. It's the progress that matters the most, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not like the journey, like the end result is great, but the journey is what's going to really like change who you are.
It's how you deal with the daily.
100%.
The daily struggles. That's what makes you who you are.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with relationship. Like, let's say, I don't know, well, you can take mine as an example. It's also forgiveness. You have to learn to let go.
Yeah.
You know, and you talked about the art of forgiveness.
Yeah.
How do you forgive someone that hurt you?
Well, the first thing is like, I don't think you should forgive them. Forgive them for yourself. Because if you, like, the biggest thing is as long as you hold on to any grudge, you're never going to move on. Never. And it's not even something that's like voluntary. It's truly involuntary. You'll still think about it. And my advice is, if you're not gonna forgive someone for them, just forgive them for yourself. Like, if you're not gonna forgive them for, if you're gonna like forgive them for your own peace of mind, right? And we kind of talked about this earlier, where it's like that level of selfishness, right? Yeah. But I think for me, like, the art of forgiveness is truly like for your own sake of mind. People think that if I forgive you, it's because you think I'm weak. It's like, no, man, it's not because you're weak. It's because you have other shit to do and you don't need this to bother you right now.
I don't have the time.
You don't have the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what you did was whatever. I've moved on.
So what would be the benefits of letting go of grudges and resentment?
Well, first off, you're not going to keep damaging your own mind. And I think it's interesting that you bring up like letting go, because it's like a lot of people say like this is like everything that, in my opinion, when it comes to like these kinds of like narratives, it's really like your perspective. The perspective matters. So my thing is like, I don't tell people like, oh, you need to let this go. What I tell them is, I promise you one day you will let this go. And you just change the way you look at it. Because to tell someone you got to let this go is almost like you're asking for an immediate action, right? And you can't just click a button and let something go. So they're going to be like, okay, I'm supposed to let this go. One day goes by, I haven't let it go. 2 days go by, I haven't let it go. And then you start freaking out like, why am I not letting this go? It's because you can't do anything. But what I'm going to tell you now is, I promise you, my friend, one day you will let this go. Then you change the way you look at it. So a day goes by and it bothers you, but you tell yourself, I'm going to let this go one day. 2 days go by, it still bothers you, maybe a little less, and you're like, I know I'm going to let this go one day. Before you know it, a couple months have gone by and you've let it go. Why? Because you changed the way you look at it. Instead of having your mindset sort of placed into, I need to do an immediate action to let this go, you're changing your mindset in terms of, I know that I will eventually let this go. And that sort of brings a lot more comfort than to be like, I need to let this go now, because you can't really do anything to let this go now. It's going to take time. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's the power of acceptance.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
How can acceptance help you let go at a certain point?
Yeah, like for me, it's like, well, okay, as long as you're in denial in any situation, you're gonna hold on to it.
Yeah.
Like 100%. It's like acceptance is really not just acceptance of the like. It's for me, it's more like the acceptance of the outcome. Just accept that what happened, and even though it's not the outcome you wanted, it happened. And typically, denial is a direct association of like when the outcome is not what you wanted, and that goes into denial. And denial is a direct, like, sort of a direct path to like holding on to shit, right? As long as you're in denial and you're like, this thing happened the way I didn't want it to happen, you're constantly going to be thinking about it as to why it didn't happen the way you want it to happen, what could have been done. It's just going to make your mind go crazy. Whereas if you just say, you know what, and again, like this is a lot easier said than done.
Absolutely.
But the point is, you need to have that conversation with yourself.
Yeah, live in the present a little bit, man.
100%. You need to have that conversation with yourself and say, okay, this particular thing happened. It didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but it happened anyways. There's nothing I can do about it now. And I just gotta, I kind of gotta bite the bullet in a sense and just accept what happened. And again, like we earlier we spoke about like, self-doubt, and like the response to self-doubt is immediate, saying like, no, yes, you can. It's sort of the same formula here, where it's like, as soon as you want to go back into like that denial phase, like, oh no, I'm accepting it for its truth. I'm accepting it for what it is. And you got to keep reminding yourself. And again, this ties back to like mental toughness. You need to have these conversations with yourself. You know that inner voice that like you have? You need to talk to that inner voice a lot more. And it's like, it's truly like having a conversation, but with yourself. And it's nothing that's going to probably be like immediately fixed, but I promise you the consistency of having these small conversations with yourself will lead to like a stronger mind overall.
What I found too, fortified my mind is meditation.
Yeah, 100%.
You meditate?
I do meditate.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's your meditation routine? Like, what do you do usually?
Well, I like to try to get it done in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, when I wake up.
Yeah.
So
start the day off right.
Yeah. So like for me, I'll try to be up at like 7 a.m. or something. I go to take my shower, whatever, and then I'll just go in my living room, turn all the like no sound whatsoever. And I like to do different forms of meditating. My favorite one, we kind of discussed this earlier, is like gratitude meditating. Just like sit down and just everything that you're thankful for, and just let all that like positive energy sink in. And that energy, like that positive energy, will really like change your mood throughout the day. You're gonna feel a lot better. If it's not that, it's truly just like reflecting on my goals. So like for me, like meditation is like my time to sort of like sit down, ground myself, and realize what are my goals, or like how close I am to accomplish them, you know? And I think everyone, because like your days will fly by, your weeks will fly by, months will fly by, you'll blink and like time will just fly. And if you haven't given yourself at least 30 minutes a day to analyze where you are now and where you're trying to go, it's a lot harder to sort of like track that progress. You know, every day you should give yourself some time, reflect on like, what did you do yesterday that you could have done better? What are you going to do today? What are my goals for today? What are my goals for the end of the month? How am I going to get there? And by doing that every day, you're holding yourself accountable. Right?
Win the day.
You win a day. So for me, meditation is really like either I'm spending time being grateful for the things that matter most to me. For me, it's my family. I have 2 great sisters that I love so much. You know, I have amazing cousins. So for me, and like, again, we have a large family. So I spend my time, you know, reflecting on what I'm grateful for. And if it's not that, it's truly like analyzing where I am now and how close I am to my goals in life. So, and I think everyone should do that. And your goals don't have to be, it could be anything. You know what I mean? It's not what the goal is. It's the process of I'm taking time for myself to think about what I've done right today, what I've done wrong today, and how I can be better tomorrow, and how I can get closer to what I want to accomplish. And I think everyone should be doing that.
It's the small wins.
100%.
You know, a lot of people they tend to, you know, see the big picture, the bigger picture, and they focus on these huge fucking goals. But just do enough every day for you to be closer to that goal unconsciously, without even thinking about it. Because if you think about it too much, and then you're like, okay, well, fucking this week I didn't do that much, but actually you kind of did. You know, you did better than what you the week before.
Yeah.
It's just the win the day. And Jocko Willink, like you said, same thing. He has the same concept. Like, dude, as long as you win the day, or like a Navy SEAL, think about your next meal.
Yeah.
You know, okay, yeah, it's hard right now. Just think about your next meal. Okay, I'm eating now. Everything's good. Okay, next meal. That's how you get through it. You know, because life is not easy, man. Life is hard for everybody. Everybody has their struggles, and people out there saying like, "Oh, this guy has no idea what I went through." No, dude, everybody goes through their own struggles. You know, it could be a cakewalk for you, but to someone else, it can be absolutely detrimental. So you need to realize that not everybody's at the same, you know, the same status in life, the same pace in life. Not everybody has the same fucking backgrounds and stuff, but we do have our own problems. And man, there's going to be more problems than solutions in life. You're going to have more losses than wins, for sure. So you need to, you know, enjoy those wins, but learn how to deal with the losses.
100%.
Because fuck, they suck.
Oh yeah, they do. But you need to go through it.
Yeah,
you need to go through it. And like, again, like for me, it's like the losses ultimately is sort of, it's like the blueprint to the win. Right? Because an L, like a loss, right? No one intentionally tries to lose. What you try to do is accomplish something, and perhaps it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. But now you have new grounds as, okay, this is everything that went wrong. And you try it again. Maybe you're going to lose again. But now at least you fix one thing. And again, it goes back to this sort of pattern of like progress and consistency. And eventually you'll get that win. But you get that win through the losses. Now you could be very lucky and get the win on the first go, but the guy who has like a lot more losses than wins has a stronger story to tell and has a lot of experience to like back up everything on. Yeah.
Do you have any like a message for, let's say, like a young man out there struggling, or a young person out there is struggling, you know, with everything going on? Let's say their friends are having good jobs, but they're just stuck in this loophole of constant negativity. What is your, you know, your plan, your go-to to make their lives better?
Well, the first thing I would say is, depending on the age of this gentleman, let's say like a 16, 17-year-old, sure. The first thing I would probably say is that like, you haven't even really truly realized who you are yet. There's so much internal growth left. So don't dwell too much on if you don't have all the answers now. The second thing I would probably say is my strongest advice, I think, and this is my go-to, is like, you should start working out. That should be the number one thing. Give yourself that time of clarity. You'll find yourself being in a state of absolute sort of like clarity, or like you're able to think better. You're able to like sort of like analyze things better. And then that probably will be a massive tool for you to sort of like figure out perhaps what you're doing wrong that you could be doing better. And also, I think the strongest advice is like, if you're going through something, like there are people out there who can help you. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? Like, yeah, we discussed that it needs to be from yourself, but some people are willing to do the work, but they just don't know where to start. Like they don't have like sort of the tools to sort of like get the job done. And if you feel like that's you, don't be afraid to like reach out to someone. You know, you and I had this conversation earlier where we said, you know, we were talking about, you know, like why this particular topic that we wanted to both discuss. And we sort of went back and forth, and we said, you know, both of us are pretty fortunate to have like close friends and like close people in our lives. There are a lot of like, and this can be men, this can be women, this can be anyone, right? But there are a lot of people out there who don't have that close group of friends. They don't have those people to go to. Yeah. And so what sort of you and I are trying to offer today is for those people to try to give them that sort of support system of like, you know, we're going to talk about certain things. Maybe there are things you want to talk about, but you don't really have like that person to talk to about. So like, that's like my advice in terms of, you know, if you're going through some stuff, don't be afraid to reach a hand out. And, you know, if there's no one there in your immediate friend group, we discussed this earlier. We live in a world where almost anything can be accessed online. So if you're going to watch a podcast, go listen to David Goggins, go listen to that Navy SEALs guy, like go feed your mind with positive stuff and stuff that's going to help, you know, your internal
something
growth.
that is mentally nourishing.
Exactly.
Okay. Not fucking, you know, NBA highlights, you know,
none of that stuff. Yeah. Like, you know, like try to like put yourself in an environment or put your mind in an environment where it's constantly growing. Yeah, and surround yourself with people who are also positive. Absolutely. People who won't judge you if you actually say what's on your mind. 100%. You know, that's why I'm close with, like, I have a small circle of close friends, and man, we can tell each other anything. Right. And that's what's important. You know, I'm not scared of like, okay, I can tell these guys something, and then the second, like, you know, like an hour later, they're texting their friend, like, you know what the fuck this guy just said? Yeah. You know what I mean? You need to trust your close circle, stay close to family, and man, focus on yourself and try to be better. Try to be better every day. Fitness is key, man. And I think, I think the one thing I was also going to add is like, I promise you, like it gets better. Like it gets better. It's a tough journey for a lot of us. Everyone goes through shit, but you know, just keep your head up, you know, put that negative energy into positive energy. It's unlimited fuel. Use it for good things. And I promise you there's a good day to come for everyone. Yeah, for sure. Wow. Before you go, I need to ask you this, dude. You're a weapons instructor? Yeah. What the fuck? What is that? For what? For nunchucks. For nunchucks. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So when did you start that? Like when? It was actually 100% self-taught, believe it or not. Really? Yeah. So I started martial arts when I think I was 9 or 8 years old. And there's this like saying in martial arts where like you don't choose the weapon chooses you. Mm-hmm. And I had this like weird thing where like I tried using the bow staff for a bit, but like I didn't really like it. And then we had these like old nunchucks in the dojo, and my instructor was like, yeah, like we use that for like seminars. Sometimes people will come and like try, but like no one technically in the dojo was like, they didn't actually like used it. It was more like when we invited like guests to come and give seminars. Okay. So I just grabbed it and I started like throwing it around, and like I was like, man, this feels really good. Like this is really like, it feels nice in my hand. Like it's just like, it feels like everything's flowing very well. And then we always say in martial arts that like a weapon is an extension of you. So whenever you feel like you're using a weapon and it doesn't feel right, it's because it's not a good match. It's not a correct extension. So for me, it was. So then I just was like, hey, I went to every single seminar that there possibly was for nunchucks, and then I got like really good at it. And then with some time, I started teaching our class. The nunchucks, and it was a painful process because obviously with a practice you hurt yourself, and like that's like a weapon that you don't really want to like, you know, hurt yourself with because it stings. But yeah, I did the nunchucks. I have a video of it. I'll show you later. Cool. You'll see. Okay. And I did teach that for, I would say like, it took me about like a solid like 6 years to be like really good at it. Like it took a while. Really? It took a while. And then once I got pretty solid at it, I started teaching like the other kids in the other you know, black belts and martial artists in my dojo. And then I started regularly giving classes like every month or so. I'd just like freshen up. My coach would ask me like, hey, can you give a nunchuck class? I'm like, no problem. Yeah. So I did that for a couple of years. Yeah, it was. That's so cool. You told me that, dude. I was like, what? Yeah. Out of the blue. That's awesome, out of the blue, man. Like, yeah, man. I'm a weapons instructor, and it's like, it's definitely. And it's funny because I didn't mention it to you at first. I'm like, oh, by the way, like, I'm a weapons instructor. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Just fucking Yeah. That's awesome, man. Thanks, man. Yeah. What should men do, or what should people do to promote men's mental health? Talk about it. It's the number one thing. I think that it's not spoken about. I mean, we try obviously as much as we can to like talk about it, but it's even when it's spoken about, it's sort of like undermined a little bit. And it's like, well, you know, I do believe in like, I'm a strong advocate for for mental health, and I still think that although we're trying to talk about it, I still don't think the narrative or the dialogue is great enough to make a significant impact or change. So I think I would start there. Like I think that like, let's normalize the idea that we all go through stuff. If you go through something, there's nothing wrong with talking to your friends about it. Like, you don't need to be a tough guy to everyone. You know what I mean? Like no one cares.
No one cares.
No one
No one fucking cares.
You know what I mean? Like try opening up to your friends and shit. That's strength. You know what I mean? That's true strength. Like and if your friends are gonna like tease you about it, sorry, but they're not your friends. They're not your friends. Because if you go say it to your buddy and say like, I'm going through some shit, and they're just gonna crack a joke,
or deep down they're jealous as fuck.
Oh, they could be as well. But ultimately, the point is that they're not your friends. No. Because whether they make fun of you or they're jealous of you, that's not people you want to surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So, you know, definitely, keep that in mind, because, you know, when they say that like it's only when you're at your lowest that you'll truly know who your friends are, and that's very true, right? Because anyone can be your friend when you're at your high, when you're doing all these great things and you know you're killing it at life. Anyone can be your friend. It's when you're at rock bottom, you're gonna see like 90% of them are just gonna like vanish. Yeah. The 10% who are around, you want to keep them around.
Yeah, who's gonna show up to your funeral?
100%. Oh, that's the biggest thing. And it's so funny that you bring that up, because I never thought about it, but I'm like, oh fuck, yeah, who's gonna show up to my funeral? And then you start. It's so funny that you think of all these people as your friends, and then for whatever reason, the idea of them being at your funeral, your gut feeling is like, I don't think it's gonna happen.
No way.
No.
No fucking
you
chance.
Yeah. You can name 10 friends, but you can name 3 of them who would end up at your funeral.
Yeah.
And I think that's to be taken that's not to be taken lightly at all. There's a reason why you think that. Now you might not want to accept it for now and think like, well, no, they're still my buddies, blah blah blah. I promise you, man, they're not. No. And I learned that the hard way. I had a lot of really close friends that I just don't even speak to anymore. One of them is like my childhood best friend. We were, I think friends for 15 years. And then a few years ago, like we just didn't see eye to eye on certain things. And our friendship was very like negative. And I haven't spoken to him in 2 years, and like wish him all the best. But it was one of those things, one of those moments where I'm like, fuck, like you can think that someone is there for you forever, but when shit goes down, they might immediately just like turn around. And the sooner you realize that, the better. Yeah. Because the hardest part of it is like when you think someone is going to be there forever for you and they leave, that's when it stings the most. So have that, like, again, it goes back to what we discussed earlier, have that acceptance of that it might happen. And when you have your sort of expectations like moderately low, disappointment is hard to achieve.
Keep your head up and keep your circle small.
100%. Yeah,
hey, man. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Hey, man.
Appreciate it.
Where can people reach you?
Instagram, Ashrazi with 2 eyes at the end. That's the only social media that I use the most. So that's where I'm at.
Perfect. And if you want to hear him talk, smack talk, baby. Hey, like, subscribe, share, and fucking tell a friend to tell a friend. I will see you next week. Peace.
Cheers, guys.